They say the house on Hemlock Hill is haunted. Old Mrs. Willoughby swore by it, her gaunt face etched with terror as she recounted the night the floorboards groaned with unseen footsteps, the locals whisper of shadows that dance in the moonlight, and of a chilling wind that howls through the house even on the calmest days. I scoffed at these tales. As a seasoned investigative journalist, I prided myself on logic and reason. The supernatural was a figment of overactive imaginations. So, when my editor assigned me to spend a week in the infamous house, I saw it as a golden opportunity to debunk the myths. The house stood as a brooding monolith against the twilight sky. Its Victorian architecture was once elegant, but now it wore a shroud of neglect. Creeping ivy clung to its facade, and broken windows stared like empty eyes. As I stepped over the threshold, a shiver ran down my spine, not from fear but from the biting cold that seemed to emanate from within. The interior was a labyrinth of shadows. Dust motes danced in the feeble beams of light that filtered through the grime-covered windows. A grand staircase wound its way up to the second floor, its ornate banister shrouded in darkness. The air was thick with the scent of decay and something else, a faint, sweet odor that was both alluring and repulsive. Night fell, and with it came an eerie silence. The only sound was the ticking of the grandfather clock in the hall, a steady, relentless pulse that seemed to echo in the emptiness. As darkness enveloped the house, strange occurrences began. Doors creaked open by themselves and shadows shifted in ways that defied explanation. A cold draft swept through the rooms, carrying with it a whisper of a name I hadn't heard anyone speak. On the third night, I was awoken by a sound, a soft scratching at my bedroom door. Fear, a cold and insidious companion, crept into my heart. With trembling hands, I reached for the bedside lamp, casting a pool of light onto the floor. Nothing. But the scratching continued, growing louder, more insistent. I forced myself to stand and move towards the door, my heart pounding like a drum. As I reached for the doorknob, it turned in my hand. The door creaked open slowly, revealing a pitch-black hallway. A figure stood at the end of the hall. It was tall and gaunt, shrouded in darkness. Its eyes, two glowing embers, seemed to pierce through the gloom. A scream built in my throat, but no sound escaped my lips. The figure took a step forward, and I stumbled backward, tripping over a loose floorboard. I woke with a start, drenched in sweat. The first rays of dawn were filtering through the curtains. It was a dream, I told myself. A vivid, terrifying dream. But as I lay there, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was profoundly wrong with this house. Days turned into nights, and the occurrences became more frequent and more terrifying. I began to see the shadows differently, not as tricks of the light, but as something more sinister. The house was alive, and it wanted something from me. One night, as I sat alone in the living room, a figure materialized in the fireplace. It was the same figure from my dream, but this time it was clearer, more defined. Its face was skeletal, its eyes black pits of nothingness. It reached out a skeletal hand, and in that moment I knew fear. Real, bone-chilling fear. I have no recollection of what happened after that. The following day, the journalist disappeared without a trace. Some say the house on Hemlock Hill claimed another victim. Others believe he simply snapped under the pressure of the assignment, but one thing is certain: the house on Hemlock Hill still stands, a dark and foreboding presence in the heart of the woods.